Welcome, Veritas family. We are here with our next give and take session. I'm Sherry Davis, and I am here with Dr. Penny Edmonds. She's our General Education Department Chair. Hi, Penny.
Hello, Sherry.
We are so glad to have you here today. If you are just hopping on and watching us live, be sure to tell us where you're watching from. If you're watching us in replay, also do the same. Tell us where you're watching from and tell us how you might know Dr. Edmonds. You might have had her as an instructor or met her on traveling on the road somewhere. So be sure to communicate with us. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Without further ado, we're going to jump right in. We always have our guests talk about how they came to VBC. So tell us your VBC origin story, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I guess after I listened to my husband's story, I realized I needed to think about where did my journey to Veritas actually begin. And I have loved English class, everything about it, for as long as I can remember. My friends used to make fun of me in elementary school because I begged to clap out syllables longer in class because I even loved clapping out syllables. I loved everything about it. But it was in seventh grade that I distinctly remember thinking about, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. And it was my math teacher that I just was smitten by, Mrs. Adcox. It wasn't her subject, it was her. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed her. And I thought, I would love to combine the teaching with the English. And as a seventh grader, I didn't put much more thought to that until Pensacola Christian College sent a group to our chapel to talk to us about going to college. And I listened in that chapel. I fell in love with everything that was shared that day. And I remember going home and telling my parents, and they laughed. I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Pensacola Christian College and I'm going to be an English teacher. And they said, well, we're not surprised that you want to be an English teacher, but we are surprised with Pensacola because we kind of like you to go closer to home. And Pensacola is further away. But that didn't change. Pensacola was my place. And so that stayed the same up until I was a senior in high school. And I was sharing with our computer teacher. He was a nice guy. We all liked him. And he said, hey guys, tell me what you're going to do with your lives. What has God called you to do? And so I shared with great excitement, I'm going to go to Pensacola. I'm going to be an English teacher. I've been wanting to do this for years. And he said, what a shame. And I remember him saying that. He was like, what a shame. I'm like, what a shame. Of course, I'm a teenager. So that really struck me pretty hard for my teacher to say that. And he said, yeah. He said, you know what, guys, if you have any skill whatsoever in computers, you need to be a computer major because he was the computer teacher. And he
Wow.
said, you need to do computers because, first of all, lots of money there. And
Sure.
there's always now a growing need. Well, that really stuck with me. I look back on that time now and realize it began one of a major bad decision on my part. Because I went home and told my parents what he had said, and they said, but what did God call you to do?
Right.
And they said, teach English. Or I said, teach English. And they said, why would you listen to him then? Follow what God has told you to do. Well, I didn't. I
Mm.
changed my major.
You
Believe it or not,
did?
I did. And when I tell you what I changed it to, you're going to laugh because you know me. I went to Pensacola as a computer science major. Yeah, see, don't laugh too hard. Don't laugh too hard. I did. I
I didn't
went
know that.
and I took Cobalt. I took Fortran.
Woo.
Um, I did fine. I didn't do great. I did fine, but I hated it. I just thought this is ridiculous. This is not what God has called me to do. And I realized I had made a mistake in ignoring what I did know, which is God called me to be an English teacher. I had
Right.
my parents' advice, didn't even listen to them over this teacher.
Mhm.
So I made a mistake, but I fixed it because by the time, I think it was after Thanksgiving, I went and talked to the registrar, Penny Martin, actually. And she said, well, first of all, let me talk through with you. Why do you want to change your major? And I said, because I'm desperately miserable
Yeah.
and I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I know God called me to be an English teacher. I listened to other advice. I've got to get back on track. And so by the time I went home at Christmas time that year, I was an English major and I was a
Mhm.
very happy English major. And so then I finished there at Pensacola and At that time, my heart's desire was to go back to my home high school and teach English there. They
Mhm.
needed an English teacher. I loved my home high school. It was great. And so that was my plan. I never really prayed about it. I just, that's what I'm going to do. And then I got a note one day that our academic dean, Dr. Goddard, wanted to talk to me. And so I went in and he said, "Hey, we just want to talk to you and offer you the opportunity to begin teaching English here at the college. And at the same time, you can earn your master's. You would be a graduate assistant." And I
Mhm.
literally, I mean, even though I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't even think about it. I said, you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to teach English in my home high school. And, but thank you. So I was sharing it with my dad later that weekend. And he said, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" And he said, "You know, you want to get a master's, you want to continue in your education. You haven't even talked to the home high school. You don't even know if they want to hire you." And I thought, well, all of that is true. And he said, "And plus," and John would laugh because he knows my dad said this, and he said, "And plus, you haven't met your husband yet."
Oh, sure. He's like reason number 3 or 4, but it's real
Yeah,
high up there.
it was. And he said, "Because I know the boys in our church, I know the boys in our neighborhood, and that man is not here. He has got to be there." And
That's funny.
so I thought, you know what? I'm not going to make the mistake of following advice that I shouldn't be following.
Hmm.
I prayed about it. I went back and he said, "Go back to Dr. Goddard and ask him, is the offer still there? If so, my dad says I should say yes." And so I
Love it.
did meet with Dr. Goddard again, who came to be a very dear friend
Hmm.
of mine and John's. And I told him, I said, "Look, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even pray about it. I just said, I'm going home." I think maybe that was because it was comfortable. It was easy. I didn't have to think
Yes.
about it. And he said,
Yep.
"Well, the offer still stands." So I signed the piece of paper then and stayed on at Pensacola and taught as a graduate assistant for 2 years
Okay.
and got loads of experience. It was great. And in the
Good.
meantime, I earned my master's in secondary education. They
Hmm.
didn't have an English major then, or I would have been in that program.
Hmm.
But I love that program because it gave me a well-rounded education, and it only made my love for English even stronger as I got to
Right.
study in those classes. I think it was at the end of my first year, I met John. And
Okay.
so my dad was thrilled. And so um,
So the
I
end
met
of your freshman, like that your undergrad or graduate?
the first year, the end of my first master's year.
Okay. Got it.
And so I even teased my dad. I said, "Listen, I listened to you, and the man is not showing up. Okay, he's not here." And so my dad and I would joke about it. And
Yeah.
then I met John in August of my second year of my master's program. And I knew that's one reason I'm here for sure. And
That's
so we
fun.
started dating, and I told my dad about him. They were thrilled. They loved John. But I
Sure.
remember making a commitment to my dad that I would not marry until I finished that master's degree,
Right.
which was easy when you're not dating. Okay.
Sure. Sure. It's an
It's
easy
an easy
promise to make when there's no one on the horizon.
Yeah, no one, it's not a problem. And
Yeah.
so I kept that promise though. And I think it was, oh, I can't remember the day, Sherry. I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday that I graduated. And then our family stayed in town and we got married there at the Rawson Chapel on a Saturday. So it
Oh,
was a
you did. Oh, so you guys right after the semester ended.
Yep. Well, both of our families were there and it
Oh,
was a great location. We both loved the Rawson Chapel. We loved where we were going to get married. It just made most sense to
sure.
just go ahead and do it then. Um, and then I continued. The college asked me if I would, go and get a different degree, one specifically in English. And so I headed off to West Florida, University of West Florida. I say headed off, it was in town. So it's not like I
Right.
headed off very far.
Right.
Um, and I finished that degree. And then we were at Pensacola for a while, taught there for about 17 years. And then God moved us to Santa Maria, California to work with Pastor Jim Shetler. And I laugh about it now. I wasn't laughing then. But when we got there, I thought, what am I going to do? They have no college.
Hmm.
They have a high school, but they don't need an English teacher.
Oh.
What am I going to do? And
Hmm.
so I remember being in an interview with the school principal. John and I were meeting him. I didn't realize at the time, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I didn't realize that he was somewhat talking to me as a potential teacher at the elementary portion of the school.
Oh,
So he shared with us, hey, we've got this need for a first grade teacher. We brought people in. We don't think we found the right one. Um, we kind of said, hey, or I did, hey, well, I'll be praying for you that you find the first grade teacher. It wasn't long after that I realized I was going to be the first grade teacher.
right. It's all the puzzle pieces are falling into place.
Yes, but I would say I can't say I was just excited.
Sure.
Um, Not because I don't want to teach 7 and 8 year olds, but because I felt like I don't know. I've never taught them outside of Sunday school. And I've done that. And so I
Right.
talked to Pastor Shetler and I said, this is a bad idea. You have no idea. And he said, look, do you love the Lord? I said, yes. He said, do you love to teach? I said, yes. And he said, it's good enough for me. I'm like, well,
That sounds
okay.
about right.
Yeah. And so I will say that year taught me, because I went in with the excitement of I get to teach them about English and writing and reading and all these things. And I love the reading groups. But truly, my favorite subject was Bible.
Mm.
And I realized coming out of that time that what I learned was, instead of teaching them about what I love, I did believe God put me there to teach them about Jesus in a
Oh,
different way than I had ever. I don't do that in college. You don't
right.
really, you can counsel, you can give advice, but you don't just
Right.
teach about those things.
That's right.
And at the end of the school year, um, I decided I'd play a sentimental game with them. And hey, what was your favorite moment in first grade? And I was humbled with one of the little boys, Diego. He said, my favorite is when you told me every day, Diego, grow up. And so maybe first grade's not my forte, just saying. And then Logan, his friend, spoke up. He goes, oh no, my favorite was when she said, Logan, quit being a child.
Oh,
He
so
said, and
funny.
I thought, but I am a child. So they knew I loved them.
Right.
We had a great year, and I realized I had no clue what God had for me in first grade, but I had a lot to learn about just really getting scripture and getting the stories of Jesus into students' hearts.
Yeah.
And so I did that for 1 year. And then
Mhm.
God moved us to Texas and the Dallas, Texas area, and I taught
Okay.
7th through 12th grade. That
Okay.
was also an eye-opening experience for me. Because I've only taught college. And
Right.
so it was very different, but I liked it. I mean, it was an enjoyable experience.
Good.
And then John came to me I can't remember how long we've been there, it's our 5th year. And he said, hey, Daniel Stevens is visiting. He's going to be speaking. He talked to me about some needs they have at Virginia Baptist College. What do you think? I'm thinking, what do I think? I
Right.
came
Loaded
across
question.
this room, right? And so with great excitement, and we came here and interviewed, went out to lunch and met the people who worked here. And now 8 years later, I'm still teaching English and some education classes and chairing the gen ed department, which I think is the greatest. And
You
just having
bet.
a blast. Just
Yeah,
having
that's good. Yeah, I remember when you guys came up and I think we were at Vinny's. I think we went to lunch at Vinny's. At
yes,
some point you guys had come up and we'd all gone to Vinny's, which
yep,
was a lot of fun to meet
that
you.
was
And
a
I was
lot of
like,
fun.
yep, I was like, Penny and I are a lot alike. I think she's going to do fine here. I think we'll do just fine when they get here. So I was excited. Hey, we've got some people hopping on here. We've got Denny Hastings. He says he's watching from Antigua, and he says he's taken 5 courses with Mrs. Edmonds. Her love for English is amazing. Delaney says she's watching from Bland, Virginia. She says she's had Mrs.
Oh,
Edmonds for so many of her courses. She's the best. Love her. We got John on. He must be in the next room. He said, Penny is my wonderful wife. Julia Tite from Ohio. I know Mrs. Edmonds from Christian Literature this past summer. Wonderful class. I learned so much. She's helped me so much with my writing. Michael Raker in West Alexandria, Ohio says he's taking English Composition 1 with Mrs. Edmonds. So we got Brother Wagner on. VBC Education Department is certainly blessed to have Sister Edmonds. Her experience and expertise is at its core of the faculty. He's in North Carolina. We got Paula on. She's watching from Kentucky, and Curtis Tomlin's watching with us today. We've got Jonathan Rice from Greenville, North Carolina. He said, my wife had Dr. Edmonds in Pensacola for 20 years ago, took research and writing this past summer. Pam Polanco. She says, I can't believe Dr. Edmonds wasn't an English major right away. That's like
neither can
everybody's
she.
incredulous by that. I think that was like something revealed, a revelation. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Um, Jennifer Epperson says, watching from Havelock, North Carolina. Met Dr. Edmonds when she taught me in grad school in PCC. She's my favorite teacher ever. Now she's my department head at BBC and my friend, which may be the biggest calling card to be able to call friend. I
Yeah,
love that. I think that's
absolutely.
great. Very
Absolutely.
good. Well, I appreciate your taking the time to, I do love, I want to throw back a little bit to the first portion of your story when you were the teenager. It makes me think so much about how much youth leaders have influence over the kids. Like you full on changed your major in the direction as a result of a comment from a youth leader.
Mhm.
And that speaks a lot. Those of us who are in ministry and deal with children and deal with young people, it is ever more impressive to me. It weighs heavily to think, okay, the words that we say mean things. They mean something. So choose them wisely. And you're a perfect example of that. I mean, you full on went because you're an impressionable kid.
Yeah.
And this guy, said something that, he's to be trusted. Why not? It makes sense, And so that's something stuck out to me. Also, you were born and raised in Tennessee, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so what happened to your accent? What are we dealing with that?
I would say my speech teacher, Rhonda Autry, took care of the accent.
You mean took care of?
Because
She beat it
I
out of
love
you?
her. She's one of my favorite instructors, and I had to take several levels of speech class as an English major. And she and another teacher, Bethany Crawford, both called me into their office and said, you know what, if you want to be a teacher, then the one thing that can happen is your accent can be a distraction.
Mm,
Which at first, to be honest with you, I was a little insulted by that. I'm
sure,
like, this is who I am.
right?
Leave the accent alone. But then I realized, wait a minute, I finally am on the right track. So if these women who are women that I respect say that I need to modify the accent,
Sure.
then we're going to modify the accent. So I went from, oh, usually it was ice, rice,
Yeah.
Mike, all, and I would practice in the office with them. Both of them would work with me and say, nope, we're not saying forget who you are. We're not
Right.
saying don't have some Southern, but
Right.
it is a distraction to the point where just don't let it impede your message. And so there's where the accent went. It's in the office of Rhonda Autry and Bethany Crawford.
Got it. You left it there. But I love that they took the time to mentor you in that way. That was extra time on their plate. They didn't have to do that, but they
Yeah.
saw enough in you and potential in you to really see a
Yeah.
future. I think that's great. I think that's great. And it probably set the tone for you as an instructor, because I know that you're like that with your students as well. Like whatever I can do to help, I'm going to be there for you.
It really made a difference. Now, both of them, it really wasn't even an option. So they presented it as an option, but then as I would leave, they would say, see you next week at this time. And
Yeah,
so
this is
for
happening.
for a whole year, I was in their office and they would help me sometimes longer amounts of time, sometimes 10 or 15 minutes, but they would pick up on something in class and said, listen, we will work with you because you are serious
Good.
about what you want to do in the classroom. So the time is not the problem. So I
That's
enjoyed it. And they're
that's
both dear
good.
friends now. So
Yes, I love that. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So the next segment, we had you prepare a piece of advice, a resource, something that you can share with the students. So share with us what's on your heart to give to the students today.
okay. Well, when you gave me the option, I chose three of the top pieces of advice that I would give to students. Um, Now that I think about it, one of the biggest ones would be if you know God has called you to something, just do it. Don't listen to
Yep,
someone's comments like I did,
good.
um, and suffer through Cobalt and Fortran. Just skip it. Just because in that
Yeah,
moment, I even didn't listen to my own parents, my own
sure.
godly advisors within my home. So
Right.
I guess I would add that. The other piece of advice I would be giving would just know your why. Sometimes you come to college, and I've asked students, my husband's asked students, so what are you doing? What do you plan on doing? I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm just here. And
Yeah,
sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you don't
sure.
know exactly.
That's right.
But when classes get hard and circumstances are challenging and you wake up thinking, I really don't want to do school today. I have no motivation. Then it's a good time to say, okay, well, then let me remember why I'm here. What is my
Right.
why? And that helps, at least it did me. It kept me focused on the goal. The goal is get through advanced grammar, go through all the comments, all the things, and just get on the other side of it because I want to teach That's my
Yeah.
why. I want to teach in the classroom. If this is a stepping stone, then let's do it. Let's do
That's
it.
such good advice because you represent like 100% of our Veritas students because they're all trying to get into the ministry. They're all trying to be effective for God. And you are on the other side of it now where you know that this is going to be taking a lot of time and energy and finances and efforts, and you're gonna reach some walls.
Mhm.
And for you to consistently remind your students to remember your why helps you to just sludge through, like it's going to be a difficult journey, but why are we doing it? God has called us and we're excited. And I love that Veritas gets to have a small part in that.
Oh, yeah.
We get to link arms from our side, watch the students fulfill God's calling. And it is one of the greatest passions that we have here. And I'm excited about that. That's a great piece of advice. That's great.
It's fun. I remember talking to one of my advisors, Dr. Chapman, and I told him, I said, I'm just not feeling an English major this year. And and he's not really just a bombastically funny guy.
Sure.
And he just looked over and he said, then fake it till you make it. Do you have any other questions? I will never forget. It was like done. And so I've thought of that over the years. Listen, life in general is not about always feeling motivated,
Yeah.
but you push through and you get it done because you know what
Responsibility.
your goal is. Why are
Yeah.
you
That's good.
Next piece of advice would be take initiative.
Mm.
Um, I generally don't struggle with taking initiative. If anything, I probably am in somebody else's business too much. So that's generally
Same.
not my problem. Um, but sometimes as the student, and it can be a little bit more challenging maybe if students are doing online and they don't see that person face to face in the hallway, at church, at lunch, whatever. But I think it's important to remember it's your education.
Right.
No one should be more motivated about getting everything there is to get but
Yep.
you. And
Yep.
so, and I do encourage my students, look, don't hesitate to ask me a question. I won't know that you need help if you don't take initiative and tell me.
Right.
I'll help you, but if it's after the fact, then there's nothing I can do. And so taking initiative, if you have a question, ask it. If you're
Yeah.
confused, reach out to that teacher and figure it out.
Yeah.
If you're discouraged, whatever the case is, this is God's calling on your life. So take initiative. It's not your If you're dual enrollment, it's not your parents' responsibility, it's not your spouse's responsibility, it's not your teacher's responsibility. You get the privilege of owning your own education. That's a big responsibility, but it's a whole lot of fun when you do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And
so,
it's so rewarding. It's very, very rewarding. And you feel so satisfied once you've gone through that process. We deal with some, just real quick, peel back the curtain for the office. Sometimes we deal with over the course of years, students who are, not as motivated, and that's fine. And that happens. But some of the ones that we've trained and onboarding, they will be so invested in contacting and contacting and contacting and pulling along and pulling along. And I'll say, you can't care more than they do.
oh,
We can't do it for you. We
yeah.
want to. We so badly want you to be successful. But if on your end you haven't found your why or you haven't found the direction or whatever, then, there's only so much we can do. That is great
Oh,
advice.
yeah. Well, and the initiative also, I think, particularly I've found more so with online even, keeps communication clear.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started teaching, I would go down through there and make comments, never thinking at all that my students might take any offense to them whatsoever, because I'm not grading it to be offensive. And I
Sure.
remember one of my very dear students, I had put to the side of her paper, "This makes no sense." Okay. So I
Sure.
look up in class and she is crying. And I'm thinking, I've got to go help her. What is going on? Well, what was bothering her was me. But
Oh,
and so I had to like drag it out of her. And I told her, I said, never hesitate. That is not personal.
right.
If you at all think, because I figured she knew me enough at that
Sure.
point to know I'm never going to say that. How rude. But
Sure.
she did think that. And
Right.
so I had to take, in that sense, take the initiative to say, look, something's wrong. What is it? How can I help?
Yeah.
And then tell her if that ever happens again, if you think there's something that's miscommunicated, then
Mhm.
you take the initiative as well to say, ooh, wow, that kind of stung. Did you mean it that way? And so I also think the initiative helps with communication a
Oh, for
lot.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
And then the last piece of advice is be teachable.
Hmm.
It sounds kind of silly to say that when you're coming to school, but I
Right.
cannot tell you how many students have showed up in my classroom with not a precious thing to learn. because they know everything. And, I don't know everything. I'm still learning. And so it's
Yeah.
hard to be absorbing material and growing and being like a sponge when you got nothing to learn.
Yeah.
And so being teachable sometimes is a matter of humility,
Yes.
a matter of putting the pride aside. But the other thing is own it. You're there to learn.
Right.
And if you want to learn, then it entails being teachable and realizing you don't have it all together.
Well, two things you dovetail right along with what Denny had to say last week. Same thing. He said, be teachable. He encouraged the students to be teachable, even at whatever stage of life you're in. Also, it's hard for me to fathom someone attempting any level of English class with nothing to learn, because that is such a vast, I mean, I don't know. It's not my thing for sure. So I would have to be like, please help me. I don't know anything. Oh, that's very good. Well, hey, thanks so much for taking time to share your thoughts with the students and with the family here. We're going to jump into our last segment, which is our s'mores. As always, it is the Mount Rushmore, the top four of any given category. Penny's category this time was office/school supplies, which I love. If anybody is still watching, and comment if you love a good office supply, because I was excited for this one. So guests go first. Go ahead with your top number one choice.
Okay. My first two would probably be considered not technically office supplies in proper, but they're
Okay.
mine. And that
Okay.
is a Yeti.
Yeti.
Goes
Okay.
with me. And it's not just a Yeti. It is a 32-ounce Yeti, and it's either white or blue.
Okay. Very specific. I love
Very.
that.
And 32 because I like to keep up with how much water I've been drinking.
Sure.
And blue or white because these are some of my favorite. I like very calm colors. My
Mhm.
office has like blue-gray walls and lavenders. I have no use for primary colors in my office. It gives me a headache. Um, so that's the reason for the colors.
Oh, hey, real quick before we forgot, show everybody your shirt.
See, I'm representing.
There you go. Very good. Yes, very good. She's got her Veritas sweatshirt on there. That's awesome. Okay, great. So I've got you down for a Yeti, 32 ounces, white or blue. Very specific. I love it. I was afraid you were going to take mine. My number one is a good pen. So I earned this pen 2 years ago when I reached 20 years at Veritas.
Oh,
And
nice.
John actually picked this out. And it is my favorite pen. A good pen has always been important to me, always has been. But this has become my new favorite pen. So much so that the girls, this is my desk at home. The girls aren't allowed to touch it. It doesn't leave the desk. It does not go anywhere. It doesn't travel with me because I don't want to lose it. It is my pen, and it's my favorite one. Those in the 20-year club also have this. So Brian Wagner has one of these, and Anne Marie Rill has one of these as well. I love a good pen. It has to be a good weight, has to be a good size, has to write smoothly. Also, I'm left-handed. It has to not leave a ton of ink on my hand. So this one checks all the boxes for me. All right. So what is your second choice?
I don't think we will overlap on this one because my
Okay.
second one is also not a typical office supply, but it is my dog.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, and this happened when we first transitioned from teaching in an on-campus environment to teaching at home. Um, I was just in a house here by myself. I thought this is terribly lonely when you're used to
Sure.
being out with people all the time.
Yeah.
And so we got Oliver, who's now 8 years old.
Oh, well.
And Oliver went with me no matter what room in the house I was doing my work in. Oliver followed me. I brought his bed. He sat down. I recorded classes. He laid on my feet. He knew not to get in the camera. I mean, he just was a well-trained Veritas dog. That's all I got.
Aw.
Now that John works from home as well, Oliver has left me. He stays with John. But
Now you're
truly,
now you're as isolated as ever, huh?
I know, right? But Oliver just was part of my rhythm. He was part of my day. And so for me, an office supply would be, where's my dog?
What
Oliver,
type of dog? Tell me what type you've got.
he is a golden doodle.
Oh, is he there? You got him right there?
No, John has him in his office.
Ah, sure. Well, John, you can post a picture if you've got one over there.
That's right. John post a picture.
There you go. All right. So my number two is something I also love, a pop-up Post-it dispenser/dispenser. So the pop-up kind of Post-its with the dispenser. It's weighted. I also like colors of Post-its. That's important to me. Like I don't just do the light yellow. For some reason, that just is too generic for me. So I like the pop-up. It has to be the pop-up kind, and I put it in my dispenser. Also, I did lesson learned, oh, this brand is cheaper than Post-its, and it's no bueno. It's like you get what you pay for. So they don't come out cleanly and they're not very sticky, and it's the whole thing. But that's my second choice. So, all right, go ahead with your third choice.
My third choice is similar to your second choice, and that is I'm a Post-it girl.
Yeah.
And I'm not just any Post-it girl. I like very specific colors. And again, it's going to say all very calming colors. Don't
Ah,
shoot me
pretty. Yes.
red. Don't shoot me yellow. I don't want to see the bright green. Got no use for orange. But I do
Uh,
like nice, soft colors. I like different sizes. And the reason why is because if I'm teaching and I think of something and I don't want to lose it as I'm teaching, I will scribble on my
yes.
Post-it a reminder for later. And
Good.
then these I love these for meetings because then I've got a way to have this, then pull it off, stick it inside my binder. And I'm notorious for texting myself. No one
Yes.
texts more than I do.
So I do the same by email. So if
Oh,
I get, probably 60% of my emails are to myself. So
I know.
yes, I get it.
Always
That's
feeling important we are.
That's right. I love that. I love that. That's great. Okay, my number three is a good journal. And I'm not because I journal. I wish I did. I wish I were that person. But because throughout the day, I use it as scratch paper, making notes, that sort of thing. So I've always felt really guilty. I would accumulate a lot of journals. You get them for Christmas or you get them for whatever, and you like them. And I really like the feel of them and the weight of them, and the pages feel nice, but I never used them. I always felt so guilty. Well, then I realized one day, you know what? I have myself a situation I could just start up. So I have just like really bad handwriting, but it's just junk, just thoughts and things and writing. And I'm constantly got numbers over here and I don't want to forget it till I get to the next screen. So I use this journal. This is one Delaney gave to me for Christmas, which I really love. It's a really great weight. It lays flat. It's got nice paperweight. So a good journal for me is what I would say is my number three.
Mm.
All right, let's go with your number four.
My fourth one is a paper calendar.
Oh,
And I know, like my husband, and I'm sure a lot of other, like thousands of people, do like an Outlook calendar,
yeah,
a Google calendar. I do know how to do those. I simply just don't like it. I love the feel of just filling out my own calendar. It's like the feel of a good book versus a
sure.
digital. Um, I have a very distinct way that I liked it laid out, and it is literally what in rhythm works for me. I've tried
You've
doing
got the
digital
system
calendars.
down.
I
Don't
do.
broke, don't change what's not broken, right? Is that what
Right.
they're
And
saying?
so, I've tried the digital. I know my husband likes digital, so do plenty of other people. I just don't. The other
Not for
reason
you.
I like it is because I can get a pretty cover, like a cover. And
Got
then
it.
it goes with my colors here, it goes with my
Yes.
colors here. So if anyone
Do
picks
you
up
do the
on
little
it,
tabs, the
like,
little post-it tabs?
no, no, no,
No,
those bother me. I don't like that.
no, that's gross. So gross.
It's just, I like something, overall, my office supplies fall upon things that are streamlined
Yeah,
and aesthetically calming and pleasing. I could
pleasing.
work
Yeah.
anywhere as long as those types of components are involved.
Okay, my fourth on the list is something I don't even use anymore, but I love it so much. So this is a um, easy touch stapler.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to use this a lot before, of course, before we went online and even before I started doing an online audit. And I use this pretty regularly, but I loved it. You just get it. You have carpal tunnel and your hands get sore and that sort of thing. And this just does it so quickly. And when somebody advertised this or somebody talked about this on another podcast or something, and I was like, I'm gonna go check that out. So I've had it for a while. Doesn't get as much use as it did, but I will put an ad for one of these very particularly nice staplers. It's worth the money. It's about $15 or something, which a stapler that's an expensive stapler, but it was
Right.
worth it. So
It's
if you're
worth
in
it.
the market for a stapler, that's the one to get. All right, very good. Well, we got through our s'mores. So I am going to wrap us up today. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Thank you, those of you who are watching and those of you who will watch the replay later. Be sure to message us and let us know where you're watching from. Thanks, Penny. Thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you to everyone who came.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day.